Welcome to the Worth It Practice podcast. It's me again, Dr. Leah Kliansky, and today I'm going to give you a personal update about something that I've been experimenting with in my life and in my business. So if you are a reader of my weekly Worth It newsletter, which you can join, it's free. The link is in the show notes. But if you read this Worth It newsletter, you will know that I have a section of the newsletter called Leah's Personal Story Time. And in that section, I share with you real things that I'm going through in my business and in my personal life and how they affect each other, different things I'm learning, different things I'm experiencing that I think might be helpful and relevant to you. And there's been a section, kind of an ongoing theme, starting at the end of 2025. And the experiment is, can I do 100% of the things in 50% of the time? So I'm going to, in a minute, go into what that experiment entails. But before I do, I want to lay out for you the kinds of things that I typically do in my business when everything is normal. And I think this is, by the way, it's going to resonate a lot with you if you are a parent, especially if you're a mom, entrepreneur, if you're a mom who's trying to run your therapy practice. So I own a 7-figure psychology practice called Thriving Child Center. There are about 18 clinicians right now. We have a specialty clinic called PCIT Experts, and I provide evidence-based services for children locally in Houston and in all SIPAC states. This is a 7-figure practice, almost multi-7-figure. And I also have 2 podcasts. I have the Worth It Practice podcast, which you are listening to right now. I have a second podcast called Educated Parent, where I give parenting advice to solve typical parenting problems. Both of them weekly podcasts. I also have Worth It Practice Consulting, where I offer consulting services to psychologist practice owners. So I have that business. And I also have the Worth It weekly newsletter that you can read and get for free. So I have all of these things going on and all of the business management for Thriving Child Center and PCIT Experts. And this was very manageable for me last year because I had childcare from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. So I could drop off my kids at daycare and then be home by like 8:20. And I had a full day to work on these different kinds of things. And for me, that was working very well. I have really clockworked my practice so it can run without me, and I can work on the vision and the strategy and on networking and marketing and problem solving. If I take a vacation, the day-to-day functions of the practice go on. I don't need to be involved in every little thing by a lot. So that's always been running really well. And I'm right now scaling and trying to grow some really cool areas so we can provide even more services. But I had enough time where I could easily record 2 podcasts a week and do the interviews and all of that to go along with them. It was not a stretch last year. And opening the Worth It Practice consulting business was also not a stretch. And by the way, I was able to work out and hang out and network around these things. Like, it seems like I'm doing a lot, but there's so much going on that makes it easy for me that last year this was actually a pretty easy amount of work for me personally to do. I'm also really good at focusing. I have really high capacity for hyper focusing and working on things. So this, I know that seems like a lot, but I'm someone who is able to do that and manage that pretty easily. And then it turned out that my 4-year-old needed occupational therapy, and that the way that he needed it that would help him the most was 4 times a week. So what do you think I did? I was like, I can do this. Shifted my schedule so that I start at noon and set him up to go to OT services 4 times a week on the other side of town because I really like that clinic. So suddenly, about 50% of the time that I have is now gone. It is now given away to driving my child to his therapy, participating in that therapy with him, and driving him back to school. So that suddenly happened to me. And you've about 3 choices when something like that happens to you. One choice is to decrease your work, but that's never been an option for me, right? I'm building these things, I'm enjoying these things, There is so much potential in these businesses. And also I love what I do, right? So I'm not going to decrease my workload. I feel like that's the most traditional thing for a woman to do in that situation. I could also get more help. So that was other advice I got. Actually, when I brought that to my other entrepreneur friends, not in the therapy space, the first thing they said is you have to hire some of this out. And I was like, I'm not going to hire it out. I need to be there. I need to be in all the therapy appointments. It has to be with me. I have to know what's going on. I'm going to attend. And they were like, okay. So the third option became my experiment. Can I do 100% of the things I do in 50% of the time for several months? Obviously, I assume that that's not a long-term solution, but can I do this? So I have been doing this January and February and up until now. And let me tell you the results of this experiment. Here it is simply. No, I can't do that. I can do it in a short term, but what starts happening is that everything starts falling apart slowly. Let me tell you how I tried to do it. So what I did when I realized I was going to do 100% of the work and roughly 50% of the time is I went into ChatGPT and I said, I need you to help me block my time. And I told it who it was. You always have to tell ChatGPT or AI or Claude who it is. So I told it that it specialized in helping entrepreneurs, CEOs, and founders work less while doing more things. And I'm sure I gave it some better descriptions than that I'm forgetting right now. But I gave it a really clear role. And then I told it all of my regular responsibilities and when I was not available and asked what I should do. And what it told me to do, it was actually very good advice. It was to time block. So Mondays were supposed to be CEO time. So I was supposed to go over my business finances, which I always do on Monday, meet with my clinic director and problem solve things and use that time to strategize. Then Tuesday afternoon, that was supposed to be about CEO action. And so then I was supposed to work on all the different action items that I came up with on Monday and also write the Worth It Practice newsletter. And then Wednesday was supposed to be podcasting day. So I was supposed to spend my Wednesday afternoon recording episodes, doing interviews, all for the podcast. Thursday was supposed to be my clinic day. So I was supposed to see 7 clients in a row on Thursday afternoons. And then Friday is the day for networking. And that's the only day when I didn't have something regularly scheduled in the morning. Although you know that their school definitely has taken some mornings from me with unexpected performances and activities that I had to attend. But Friday was supposed to be for overflow and networking and burnout prevention, essentially. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this schedule. And I tried to. And some good things came out of it. So I don't regret the things that came out of it. Let me tell you some of the problems with it right away, is that the rest of the world doesn't function on my schedule. So my podcast producer would need things from me on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday. And I couldn't be like, well, it's not Wednesday, the day I talk about podcasting. So that wasn't working out particularly well. Things would happen. I got the flu and I had to cancel a Thursday clinic and then try to reschedule it into the other days of the week. Then it messed up the whole rest of everything that was going on and was supposed to be scheduled. The kids' school don't care about my schedule, so they would just put things in there that I would have to take time off to attend. The rest of the world doesn't work around that schedule. The other problem is that I was not coming into the afternoon relaxed or regulated. I was coming in after driving in rush hour traffic across town, being fully present in my son's intervention, which could be 1 or 2 hours, depending upon what we were doing that day, driving him back and then going in. So I was showing up already at lower capacity and less creative, meaning that all the things that I was then forced to try to compress into that short period of time, I was already exhausted. That part wasn't working. That, I think, was the real issue, was the capacity issue was not working for me. And so this would all happen. And then by the weekend, I'm still doing all the kids' chores, the grocery shopping, making lunches, doing all their laundry. Again, with help. I have my husband who was doing these things too with me. But it was just leading to this chronic exhaustion where I'd end the day so tired, go into the weekend and then have to do all these things. And I was so incredibly tired, and it was clearly not working. So I don't know if you've ever tried to do this. Have you ever tried to do way too much work in not enough time without getting yourself some appropriate help? And most of us have, most women have tried to do this. So I realized, I was like, this is not good. I am not growing my business. I am not feeling regulated. I'm now not working out at all. I am not enjoying spending time with my children because I'm so exhausted that I can't connect with them the way I want to. Basically, I can make this happen, but it is at such a high cost. And frankly, I could be making much more money if I wasn't doing these things. What I ended up doing was hiring a nanny. I brought back our old nanny that we had during COVID and got her to take my son to his appointments and my daughter to her appointments. Still go to some of them. At least that's the plan. This actually is like just starting right now. So it's figuring out, I still want to be there some of the time so I know what's going on. But suddenly I have mornings back again. And guess what? Obviously my kids are in school. So my nanny has time to do laundry, to make lunches, to clean up around the house. So I'm not spending my whole weekend doing that. To bring the dog to the vet. So I'm not taking time out of work when he gets the ear infection that he gets every 2 months, like clockwork. Right? There's now like some extra burden removed. Someone else to run out and grab the random costume that school said that they need. I really resisted this idea. I think I felt like I was being like, I don't know, super bougie if I got more help, or it was suggesting I was a failure and I couldn't lean in and do it all, which is probably somehow in my psychology that I should be able to do all things well at all times, probably because a lot of the things I do go well. And like bringing someone else in was like admitting failure. I don't know, but I just got to this place where I just went back to my entrepreneur friends who had originally told me I needed help. And they were like, we all have help doing things. And now that I talk to more and more people, I realize that a lot of the people who are really successful have help behind the scenes. They are not doing all the things. And that is actually really comforting if you realize that. My first thought was, I'm just wasting money. I can do laundry. Like, why would I pay someone to do laundry? But the time I get back, I have to invest in my time and in my energy and in my capacity. And just like thinking about not having to do that this weekend, I just feel calmer overall. And I got to walk my dog in the sunshine. I can't tell you what that's doing for me and just my overall approach to things. If you are doing all of the things and wondering, like, why are you miserable or why aren't you scaling? I just want you to understand that it is impossible. It is impossible. I cannot do it. And nobody, I think, can do all those amount of things well. I had to share this with you because it really was a struggle and I was really blocked on it. And I was really stuck in like, this will become a business lesson that I will learn. I did learn some business lesson things though. I'm going to share them with you also really quick because I don't regret this experiment. So other than learning that I should not and cannot and will not continue to do 100% of my work in 50% of the time, some things that I learned were around systems. So I got to see some of the problems and ways that I'm involved in my business that are not actually helpful. Like one of the first things I noticed is that I was checking all of the different business stats randomly all day long, every single day. And I didn't have time to do that anymore when I was cramming it in to those hours at the end of the day. And it made me create a dashboard that my clinic director could fill in herself with the main stats that we actually needed to look like, that now we can review together. That has really improved the business. I'm already seeing patterns and trends and making changes based on that dashboard that I was just like not really creating, but just checking all the random data. I am so glad I changed that in the practice. Huge game changer. So glad about that. I also realized that I had a system for meeting with other providers that was not working, or basically people would email me or email my front desk, but be like, I'd love to get coffee with Leah. And I'd be like, I want to get coffee with them too. But then the back and forth of trying to find the time and the place, it would just take so long. And then maybe we would never schedule it. I realized I needed an SOP, so that a standard operating procedure, so that my front desk could schedule my networking. And I'd always refused to do this because it's nuanced and it's hard to teach them exactly how I want them to respond to different things. But we've started working on it and it's not perfect. There was a mistake with it already today. However, I'm convinced we can solve this problem together. And my networking can be easier because I love networking, and building relationships is very important for businesses. And also it's the way that I get to meet people and it fills me with energy. I'm an extrovert, so I really enjoy that networking. Those two systems changes were really important. And I just think I needed to get knocked off my high horse and taught something about my actual ability to do things. Again, I'm just sharing this with you. I try to be so honest with you about what's going on because I wish that someone had told me this. Well, people told me, but I didn't hear them. Actually, one of the episodes that I'm recommending in this week's Worth It email is Danielle Swims, where she did tell me this, and it's probably actually when I listened. Like, it wasn't to me, she told her audience, and I was sitting there like, oh, Danielle, you're so right. So if you need to hear this and you need to change this, listen to me and listen to Danielle and listen to all the other people who don't tell you to shrink things, but tell you to invest in other time management strategies. Again, I know that's a privileged place to come from, but in a certain point in your business, it may be something you really need to do. And making investments like that, for me, have always paid off. And you can make the money back in other ways. So again, hope it's helpful. Just being real with you. And now you know the results of the experiment. Experiment over. Not doing that anymore. All right, take really good care of yourself. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic week.